Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. I decided to start after 6 a.m. Central Time instead of before. That way I could play the news, listen to the top stories, and then go with this. I mostly listen to the news than watch it. I'll go look if there's something real interesting. Sort of like beer reviews, whiskey and wine reviews. I'll mostly listen to them more than watch. Sort of like a radio program, because I can do other things, while I'm listening. Maybe dust the house or fold clothes or something, I know usually if I'm watching a beer review, I know what the beer looks like already. So I might look, yep, looks just like what I remember, and just listen to the descriptions. But that's how I do it. You may do it differently. All right. So this morning, it is daylight and it is very clear in the sky. I want to go walking pretty soon. We're going to look at a famous 1911 issue, Seagram's VO. Oh, it's probably changed since 1911. Most of these famous old whiskey brands have been dropped down to 80 proof. They used to be around 86 to 90 proof in the old days. A few have retained that, most have not. Seagram's Distilling, established in 1857 in Canada by Joseph Seagram. I think it was 1926. They were bought out by the Bronfman family. Bucky Dent says, "What's up? What's up? Chilling, drinking a bud." The Bronfman family held on to Seagram's until the year 2000 when it collapsed. There was sort of like an implosion, and the company collapsed and was sold off to various people. Coca-Cola acquiring Seagram's ginger ale, that makes sense, right? Diageo acquiring Seagram's VO, Seagram's, the American version called Seagram's 7 Crown, and the Crown Royal line, the Seagram's Crown Royal, really the most valuable part probably. Pernod Ricard acquiring Seagram's Gin, the Seagram's Gin family, the London Dry and the Distillers Reserve, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And Sazerac acquired a lot of their other, what you want to say, lesser known brands like the Seagram's Benchmark Bourbon, which they renamed McAfee's Old No. 8 Benchmark. And there's some others. And then Heaven Hill acquired Seagram's 100 Pipers Scotch for the American market, but it's just called 100 Pipers in America. And then overseas, Pernod Ricard acquired the 100 Pipers Scotch for their overseas market, very popular in India. Anyway, enough of the history lesson. Good morning, Ron, says John and Neely. Good morning, John. All right, I decided to start after the top of the hour just to make it a little easier. Okay, if the news started earlier on the weekends, it wouldn't be this way, but they don't start till 6 a.m. Central. On the weekdays, it's 4:30, the local news. Okay, and then national news starts at 3 in the morning Central Time on the weekdays. Weekends is much later. And we're going up against a not at all famous Canadian whiskey, the Canadian Crest. Black label with gold writing, and then there's a gold rectangle with black writing. It's a special blend. What makes it special? I don't know. You know how these labels are. Everything's premium, right? Even the worst stuff. And it's authentic. Good. It's real. It's approved by John James. Don't know who that is. Canadian blend. Okay. Canadian whiskey with natural flavors. Oh my gosh. This was introduced in 1987. Okay, so we got 1911, 1987. It is a Sazerac produced product, but is an Albertsons brand. It's private label, okay? It's a whiskey produced by Sazerac Company, who owns Buffalo Trace and Barton 1792 and others, for the Albertsons store chain. or Vons, or Julasco, or the others. I'm not going to read them all off, but I could if you needed me to. It's a textured label, really. You can feel the line here, the writing. Okay, but anyway, you know how much this thing costs? And it has that characteristic Sazerac sediment all throughout. Now, explain that. You get a Sazerac whiskey, and they've got this sediment, like white yeast chunks or something floating around. Now, what is that? I don't know. I don't know. It's everywhere in here. Strange. Who's distilling it in Canada for them? Well, from what I can understand, they have their own distillery in Canada, but they won't say what it is. That's probably because they do a lot of contract distilling, and they got to keep that stuff under wraps, because then if you found out that your expensive craft whiskey was coming from Sazerac, you might be offended, right? Valentin George says, hello, how are you? Well, I'm doing well, I think, mostly well. And I was able to cut my grass yesterday, do an examination on Tyler's channel with John Airley and others. Okay. This does not say with natural flavors added. It doesn't mean it doesn't have them, because that's really an option. They don't have to disclose that under the Canadian law, but it's something that Sazerac does as a courtesy. Seagram's does not, meaning Diageo. All right, I got a lot of this stuff left too. That's good. Yeah, well, okay, so we're talking about $16 a bottle if it's on sale somewhere, opposed to, I forgot to mention this earlier, $5.99, 6. So we're talking about $15.99 to $5.99. Let's round off, 6 to 16. So you're going to pay $10 more per bottle for the Seagrams. Is it going to be worth $10 more? I mean, are you getting $10 more value? We're about to find out, because I had a very shocking experience Thursday. I mean, you know, you can watch that one, the previous Dawn Busters, and I couldn't believe it. You know, I thought, this is going to be a farce, you know, like a waste of internet usage, right? But no, the Canadian Crest, the CC, you attempted to call it Canadian Club, but Canadian Crest actually held its own, and it battled against the Canadian Club 12-year. I mean, it didn't win, but it battled, and for a $5.99 item to go and battle against the Canadian Club 12-year, which is $25 a bottle, you know, you can't believe it. And that was given to me by John Neely, and thank you, John Neely. That was great. I'm doing a lot of challenges with that one. The appearance. Well, this one in my left hand is just the slightest bit darker than this one, but they're both gold, and they're essentially the same. You know, for all practical purposes, no real difference. I can't remember which is which already. Oh, okay, Canadian Club. Canadian Crest. Oh, every time I see CC, right? Every time I see CC. Now, where can you find Canadian Crest? Already said it. The Albertsons, Julasco, Bonds, Safeway stores. If, in fact, you live in a state, and there aren't that many, that allow grocery stores to sell liquor. There are some, not many. Where can you find Seagram's VO? Well, pretty much everywhere in America, the United States of America, where whiskey is sold. And I think it's available in Canada as well. But some of these Canadian whiskeys can be problematic for Canada. They're made in Canada, but they're mostly sold in the United States. And the Canadians tell me, I wish I could join you, but I can't find it. I'll say, well, it's like they have a totally different whiskey world there. There's some crossover. You know, like Jack Daniels, you know, everybody can get that. But there's some stuff they've never heard of. John, I would be catching up on your Dawn Busters today. I love that CC12 year, Canadian Club. Thank you. I appreciate you watching. That was something. I try not to go too long with these things, but then they end up going long. And you could say, you're just talkative, you blabbermouth. It could be that. But I think it's more of you want to take your time and really extrapolate things. Is there something good to be said for a quick beer review? Yes. But some of these things you want to really think about, reflect upon them, break them down, look at them. And the taste challenges are there. That's the format, really. It's the format. And then you watch me and David Garlapede, and we're going through the beer tasting, and it goes on and on. We're really trying to break it down and think it through. And then off air, it's even more you say convoluted is what you wanted to say. I didn't say convoluted, I could have, but no, it's even more complex. And no, we're not up there thinking we're some great experts and we're just so hoity-toity and so wonderfully equipped to review beer. It's nothing like that. We don't think along those lines. It's just like a hobby, we're just doing it for fun. Now, do we run into people that do have that attitude? Yes, and sometimes it leads to conflict because they have this sort of like image they're trying to project, and then so when you have that kind of sort of like laid back attitude and it runs up against this buttoned down or buttoned up, what you want to say, uptight, I'm going to build my channel and I got to project this brand image and all of this stuff. Yeah, it's going to be a problem. But we're not wearing the handcuffs here. I mean, so we can just be more laid back, and we're not trying to build a brand or any of those type of things. Okay, so on with the taste challenge. Aroma first. Well, so the appearance there's a negligible difference. It really doesn't mean much. And back to that other thing, I would be doing this anyway if I didn't have a video channel. You understand what I'm saying? I would just be at home doing this just for something to do as an interest area. And so I just show it on video. You might want to watch, and people apparently like to watch. And we talk about it. That's all. That's all it is. You're not going to see me selling t-shirts, guys, or none of that stuff. I don't care about those things. Not that I'm opposed to other people selling t-shirts and caps, and that's fine. Whatever you want to do. Okay, this one has it's more of a wood experience here. And when we have the wood, what are we thinking? And I'm talking about regular old wood, not really a charred. It is almost certainly charred wood with the Seagram's VO, but you don't pick that up so much. It's just wood. Okay. And some underlying grain alcohol. Now, the Seagram's VO is strange because when you first try it, you're going to probably have the same opinion I had, that it's dull, and why do people buy it? You say, this is so dull, it's so nondescript, it's so characterless. It's obviously just something to do mixed drinks with, right? And not to sip on its own. And this is, in fact, the case. And don't be shocked, because they'll tell you that on their own website that it's made for mixing. So don't disparage a product when it lives up to what it was created to do. But that being said, when you do get used to it and you start sipping on it and putting it in taste challenges and so forth, you will start to detect certain characteristics that do make it worthwhile to sip on its own in isolation. Seagram's VO does have a quality to it, but that comes out as you keep sipping on it, drinking on it, and thinking on it. It doesn't come out initially. the whiskey thing, or brandy, or gin, or brandy, or gin, it doesn't really work so well when you're like a bull in the china shop and you just got to rush around and blast through everything and and I don't like this. It's not bull, you know, though. And we run across that in the beer world, right? Everybody's got to be a bull in the china. You got the bull in the china shop and get the people blah blah blah, you know, and this beer's trash and that thing's trash and this is trash and that's garbage and all that bluster and sound and fury and Sturm und Drang, you know, that approach. So you say, whoa, I'm so bewildered by these people. Every beer is a controversy when it could just be an experience, you see. But these are people that don't breathe. They've never taken a deep breath, probably. And if they did take a deep breath, they might start changing their mindset about things. You know, if you go through life and your breathing pattern is like this, you know what I'm saying? But you never take a deep inhalation, it could cause problems. I would be interested to know whether or not you pick up on a nutty quality with either of these. It's weird, says John in Italy. Many of these cheap Canadian whiskeys have a nutty quality, but I didn't get that with the VO. Yeah, it's got to be some kind of thing they're putting in the in the whiskey. It cannot be well, from what my understanding of reading the Government of Canada website, it is not an artificial flavoring that they add. And from what I can understand by reading it, it's not even allowed. It has to be a distilled spirit. And it has the listing of brandy. And I can see that because you got that's great, right? Great. Rum, and then you have all the sugar, and think about all the flavors the sugars could bring. And bourbon, so think about what that could bring into it. And wine, could be sherry, port, marsala, or not even, it doesn't even have to be dessert wines, but you would probably use that because you'd have to have that alcohol strength to really make an impact. And then it could be a combination of all of those, one or more or all. So you could think about all the varieties you could create with those additions. And what has and doesn't sherry have a nutty quality? Cream sherry? Yes, it does. Okay, now this one here in my right hand, it has a less bountiful aroma and some wood and some basicness to it. Basicness, and what does that lead us to believe? You know, smell it. See what I'm talking about? You say, yeah, it's VO. That's Seagram's VO. Yeah, I agree with you. Right. The VO. Nowhere in this video have I said badness. I said basicness. I've never had plum wine, but I'd love to try some. I think that might be the secret ingredient. I agree, and I've never had it either. And I've never had Canadian Crest, he said. Right. Well, you never will either unless you... But you might come to Louisiana one day and do some major Albertson shopping. You won't need much money. You could buy their whole lineup, and you won't need much money. You can buy their D.W. Anders brandy. They stopped selling Albertson's brandy, but all of a sudden they started selling D.W. Anders brandy. Oh, same thing. Not the same thing. Not the same recipe, but same concept. You understand? But you could buy the whole. You could buy the whole array. Oh, and now they got this new bourbon, Albertsons, and another new bourbon. They're all store brands. And then I noticed Walmart. Now Walmart has more and more and more private label bourbons. This huge bottle, huge square, with the neck kind of like a Jack Daniel's derivative. 1,750 milliliter bottle. It's glass. It's big. $19.97, I think, for the bottle. And it says the legendary, I think it's called Stedman bourbon. I can't remember. I couldn't quite remember the name. But I knew it was a Sazerac thing because it was like ICW Distilling, whatever that weird name is, of Louisville, Kentucky. I'm like, yeah, right, okay, Sazerac. I said, how is it legendary? Nobody's even heard of it. But it just keeps growing. This private label thing is just exploding. And I'm waiting for Walmart. Well, they've already got the beer. Unfortunately, the Rockdale is not good. But their liquor is okay. The wine, I wasn't too happy with that Walmart private label wine. But I only tried one or two, so they might be better. Jean-Pierre swears by it, Smell-o-vision, right? See? That's the internet today. You can smell things over the internet. That's the world we live in. Not quite yet, is it? Okay, okay. All right, so I've got it broken down now. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. This is the Canadian Crest, and this is the Seagram's VO. I'm going to tell you that right on aroma only. I'm not even going to taste it. I'm going to go out on a limb and take that chance. I mean, I am going to taste them, but this one has what you're talking about, the nuttiness, the brown sugar, the almond, okay? Maybe the plum skin, the prune, and the chocolate powder. You say, no, it can't have all that. It does. 1.75 liter glass bottle. That's right. It's not plastic. It's glass. It's really impressive to be a private label. I said, whoa, Walmart's a powerful company, so they can really start to just, see, they're not going to allow, many states are not going to allow Walmart to sell liquor. And they'll say it's a public safety issue, when that's totally false. It's a monopoly issue. Like Maryland only allows liquor stores to sell liquor. Why is that? To protect the public? No, it's to protect the liquor stores so they can have a monopoly, you see, or a collusion. All right. So remember, these things about public safety, it's never about public safety. It's always about monopolistic practices. Same thing with the three-tier system. The three-tier system is not to protect you or ensure quality. Go in any grocery store and you can find all kind of outdated beer everywhere, right? Outdated beer. They claim the three-tier system is going to protect you from bad, outdated products. That is not true. They don't check. They don't care. It's to protect them from competition. Believe me, most of these types of laws are to prevent competition. But they'll flip it and make it sound like they're there to protect you. Not true. Enough ranting. So I'm going to call it, yeah, Canadian Crest and Seagram's VO. Now that right there should teach you a lesson, but you probably already knew this lesson, but I didn't have to teach you. Many of these whiskeys, you can figure them out and tell them apart on aroma only. Just got to let them breathe a little bit. Got to let them breathe a little bit. But there was no way I was going to get those mixed up. Now the taste, just in a perfunctory way, we've already determined which is which. So now which aroma is better? Oh, well, I guess that's a tie. You can't say, because that's a personal preference. They're both quality, but it's a personal preference issue. If you like the rich, complex aromas there, then you would go with Canadian Crest. If you like the straightforward whiskey that smells like whiskey aroma, right? The more, like you would say, standard expected whiskey aroma, then you go with this. Okay, taste. Which do I prefer? Well, I prefer both. I think they both have their own role. Now, the underlying flavor of Canadian Crest is just grain alcohol. Okay, don't fool yourself now. You're paying $5.99 a bottle, okay? So you have to take that into account. The bulk of what you're tasting is grain liquor. It's filler, if you want to use that term, but that's really what it is. I don't care if you're getting blended Scotch, blended Canadian whiskey, or blended American whiskey. I'm not saying that in a negative way, okay? I'm saying that's what it is. It's a bulk filler. I drank some Polish beer last night. Hevelius Caper. Strong European lager. It's made with corn. They say maize. That's what the Europeans call American corn, maize. Because over there, corn means wheat, you know, but anyway. Tastes good. Nice body. Quality product. I enjoy drinking it. Okay. But I understand that the corn syrup they're using in there, the brewer's syrup, is made as a filler. Okay. This is the same thing. This is filler. The flavor's coming from the edge, the periphery. It's not going to have a particularly great depth of flavor or even any depth of flavor. And you'll find that with the blended scotch, that, you know, the ones that are cheap generally. Okay. And there's variations within there. But okay, so enough of that. So remember, filler. Nothing wrong with filler. All right. Okay. Now, yeah, it has the filler flavor. But now, okay, here's where the rubber hits the road. The Seagram's VO is plain by design, but then you have more depth of flavor, you see. There is something deeper in it. I'll try to describe that. Impressive. You're quite good at this. Your nose is as formidable as your palate. I think I agree with that. My father, if my father had not wrecked the drinking experience, like, let's say he'll take, I'm not saying anything bad because he'll admit it on air. He'd come on here and say, yeah, that's right. He used to be a little too prolific in the drinking, his volume intake. But he did that from, like, let's say 1960 to 2003. He says 2002. I'm telling you it was January 03. He says December 02. Doesn't really matter. Then he gave up drinking because he said, oh, he would drink one Coors Light, he would catch a fever. Good sign to stop. Good indication you might want to stop. Okay, so he hadn't drank since. But he always had like a particularly acute nose and palate for beer, wine, and liquor. And he's a lot more sensitive, adverse, you know what I'm saying? Adverse sensitive than I am. Like most of what he can detect things no one else can detect. But he doesn't like it. You know what I'm saying? He'll detect flavors in a room, but, oh, that's bad, that's bad. So the duller it is, the better it is in his opinion. You know, he likes things to be very dull, dull, dull. I have inherited a lot of that from him, but my mother was more interested in exotic flavors and aromas and more developed things like that. So I have that appreciation from that genetic end of the half side of the whole. So I want the hottest hot pepper, the black pepper, the hot sauce, you know what I'm saying? And then he wants the total, he doesn't want any of that. But he could, if he had not wrecked that thing, if he could still be drinking here now, 15 years, he could have really broken this stuff down very, very, very succinctly. Well, yeah, probably more because he might talk less than me, and I should say accurately. But that's not going to happen. Okay. But what I'm saying, you can't do these things if you're in a rush and you're going to just be like a wrecking ball, you know. It can't happen. It won't happen. You can't do it. It's hard to say, you know. I mean, I guess I would like to have both. I think the Seagram's does live up to the $16 a bottle. I mean, the VO is a classic product. It's not some old junk, you know. If you're expecting the most exquisite flavors, though, it isn't going to be there. But it's not supposed to be there. You got me? It's almost getting to where now I'm saying it tastes like Seagram's VO. You know what I mean? It's like, it's bland and it's sort of dull, but it's sort of unique also. In other words, other things don't taste like it. It's strange. It's like it has its own little flavor. And if you're not drinking it, right, then you don't know what I'm talking about. I can sit there and try to come up with descriptors and say, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But it's almost like a house style thing. If you don't drink it, you don't know. So on that note, should you go out and buy it and try? I would say so if you want to experience it. Am I a person out here trying to promote Seagram's VO and I'm championing it? No. I said this before, and someone was talking about that yesterday on a video about how I say I have no horse in the race. And I really do not. I don't own any stock in liquor companies. I don't have any business interests in them. And so I don't care ultimately who wins, loses, ties. I'm just drinking them. Okay? That's as simple as it is. Now, some people don't understand it, or really more than likely don't want to understand it. But I don't care. That's what they can claim. They'll say, oh, he goes around begging companies for free stuff. Well, then the begging's not working if that's the case, because I don't get much free stuff. Once or twice a year. But the reality is they contact me and say, would you like to try this if we send it? And I'll say, well, sure, but I'm going to give a fair rating. No problem. Fuller sent me the stuff this spring. I drank it. Then they sent me an email after saying, oh, the lady said, I'm embarrassed because the stuff was out of date. Well, you know, that's true. It was out of date. If I'm going to send if I owned a liquor company or a wine or beer company and I was going to send somebody something to review, well, heck, I'd make sure it was well within the best by date. But hey, you know, that's what happened. So, hey. I mean, if I had been in cahoots with him, you think I would have made a video showing an outdated beer? I don't think so. All right. So they're both fine. I mean, is either one of these things world class? I don't know why you would think you would get a world-class whiskey for $16 or less. You obviously would not. On the other hand, is Seagram's VO a competent product that's well worth buying, and does it fit the price range, and does it stand up in the bar room and on the mix, you know, the mixed drink tray at someone's house, whatever you call that, cocktail tray? Well, heck yeah, it's been around for over 100 years, 107 years. It's fine. It has its place. Canadian Crest, yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's got its homely little label, you know, it's kind of lonely up, you know, it's there, it's on the shelf, it exists. Let's say you don't like it. Oh, well, you paid $5.99 plus tax. I mean, I'm sure you'll be all right. But you know, it is what it is. It's a store brand. It looks like a store brand. This looks like a real product. You know, it's got a much nicer looking label. It's a brown bottle, which is always a help. You know, that's money. Money talks, and then private label does what it does. Oh, well, this is exactly the way I expected it to be. I thought it would be clear cut and I would be able to easily tell them apart, and I did on aroma only. Tomorrow, it should be I'm not going to talk as much tomorrow about all the background, and Seagram's did this and then Seagram's did that. I'm just going to go straight to the challenge, so it should be much shorter. I can't see how on earth I would ever mix up Canadian Crest with Seagram's VO Gold. There's no way that's going to happen. Seagram's VO Gold is $22, $23, $24 a bottle. Is it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it. And it's been discontinued. So they're going to put out whatever's remaining. Now, remember, it's aged 8 years. So what if they put some in the barrels last year before they discontinued it, right? So it could be trickling out for a long time, but it is no longer produced, and it's not listed on the Diageo website anymore. And the lady told me that in the email. She said, well, it's gone, so you're not going to see it listed. But you might still find Beam's 8-star. Jim Beam Choice. That was discontinued in 2017. It's aged 5 years, so you might see it for years to come. Well, it was never really sold around here anyway, so there's nothing to dissipate. Once that's over tomorrow, then we've got a long series of taste challenges coming with another store brand. I know I'm trying to get rid of I'm trying to get away from the store brands. I like doing them. It's just that other people can't find them. So it's like, why am I watching this? I can relate to that. We're going to do the 75 South, another Albertsons store brand against everything else. Interesting thing about the Albertsons brands, though, they're all aged at least 4 years. They're not like 2-year age cheap junk, you know. They're 4-year age cheap junk. All right, so anyway, that's that. Fascinating examination or taste challenge to me. You might laugh, but to me it was fascinating. And I think tomorrow I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit it on aroma only. Aroma only. And then it's going to be a challenge because it's going to be American blended whiskey up against another American series of American blended whiskeys. And that is no joke. Those are hard to tell apart. Sometimes nearly impossible, but I'm excited about it. And what would be the new whiskey coming up to review? Let's think about this. Oh, well, I think I must, hold on. I need to do the Piper Dean. That's the Albertsons brand Scotch Piper Dean, which actually has a decent looking label. Okay, so let's see. Taylor's Cream Sherry is August 1st. And then August 3rd, Labor Day, Black Velvet. Well, that gives me over a month of time to play with, over a month to work with. So, okay, how about this? How about we keep Black Velvet scheduled for September 3rd, because people have been clamoring for Black Velvet for 2-3 years. At least once a month I get a comment, when's the Black Velvet coming? When's Black Velvet? And I can get the 8-year age too, but that's got to wait. So I think, to be fair, I'll do the Black Velvet, but in that interim, that month, I think I'll have time to do the Piper Dean Scotch and then throw that into taste challenges. Yes, I think that'll work very well. And that, I believe that's the end of the store brand stuff. Thank goodness. I could do a whole lot more. Oh, wait. No, I'm wrong. Oh, no. I forgot about Caliber. You say Caliber? Yeah. Yeah. Caliber Canadian blended whiskey. Oh, my gosh. Go to Walmart. There's a whole line of Caliber. Gin. Canadian blended rum. I think they even make schnapps. It's like, oh man. But you know how much it costs? $5.96 a bottle. $5.96 a bottle. Ain't never tried it. I'm sure it's like, you know what it's going to be like. Caliber Canadian blended whiskey. I wonder who makes that for Walmart. Oh yeah, you got it. Sazerac. Can you imagine the money those guys are making doing contract distilling? Ooh-wee. Thanks for watching this video production.